You are listening to Reduce the Stigma, CJ106 docu-series funded by the Community Radio Fund of Canada. This series aims to provide information on local services, bring to light the work of healthcare professionals, and most importantly, reduce the discrimination faced by people with direct lived experience with a mental illness.
Hello, my name is Jan Eck, and this is Reduce the Stigma. We hope that you find this series on mental health resources in the Westman region both informative and helpful. We are glad to be bringing to light many issues of mental health and wellness, a topic that in the past had long been discussed in hushed tones, suspicious whispers. Today it seems we are beginning to open up a bit about mental health. We want to talk about it because it is something that affects all of us. The more we can talk about it, the more we can destigmatize what we previously held as fearful, unknown, or as something that other people went through. For a mental illness sufferer, talking about it might mean that some people are listening. It could mean that their concerns are being taken seriously, but it definitely means that they are not alone. Chances are you or someone you closely know currently lives with a mental illness. Yet, despite an explosion of information in popular culture surrounding mental health and mental well-being, stigma remains a barrier to diagnosis, treatment, and community acceptance. By promoting resources that can help people, by discussing the nature of mental well-being in an individual and throughout society, and by listening to the stories of people living directly with the mental illness, we hope to demystify the experience and reduce the stigma against those suffering from very real medical conditions. We hope that this show encourages anybody who has mental distress to seek some help, to know that relief can be found. And while private therapy is an option, well, if you have the money, most often people needing help first encounter mental health services in the public sphere. And this process unfolds in many ways. For some, concerns shared with a family doctor or general practitioner will lead to psychiatric assessment and will refer you to community mental health or psychiatrist for further diagnosis or treatment. Sometimes, unfortunately, it is a crisis situation where an individual will self-admit or friends and family might call for admission into a regional hospital emergency care. A registered psychiatric nurse will assess, and with a psychiatrist consult, the patient will be referred to acute psychiatric care such as CAP, the Center for Adult Psychiatry. Youth in Brandon are treated at CATC, Child and Adolescent Treatment Center. Seniors can find help at CGP, the Center for Geriatric Psychiatry. Recovery and stabilization can take a long time. Upon discharge, the client will be referred to community health services for ongoing treatment and support, which is mostly what we will be talking about in these few episodes. Sometimes, and with growing frequency, thanks to efforts against stigma, people who are concerned about their mental well-being can self-refer and contact public community mental health services directly, and through assessments of their needs can access the resources they require to help them with their mental health issues. This episode is one of two that focuses directly on the mental health community programs and services provided by Prairie Mountain Health, located in the town center, downtown Brandon. When a client arrives, an intake worker will meet with the individual to determine their concerns and needs. They will refer them to appropriate community programs such as psychosocial rehab or PSR, adult mental health, or seniors mental health. The main difference between adult mental health and PSR is the intensity of the services being provided. In PSR, community mental health workers are subdivided into intensive case managers and employment development counselors. They tend to see their clients more often and have more direct involvement with them than in the adult program, assisting the client to develop a recovery plan which includes goals and plans to get there. This tends to be a long-term process. Confidentiality and treating people with respect and dignity are essential in the work they do as healthy professionals. They meet the person where they are and walk with them in their personal journey to wellness. Instilling a sense of hope and client advocacy is a key part of the work they do. They help people become independent and self-sufficient as possible, and as community mental health workers have access to many community resources to help people achieve personal goals in the areas of living, learning, working, and socializing. A big part of their program involves proctor support services, which is another part of residential and community supports under the PSR umbrella. Proctors assist individuals with goals related to everyday tasks like grocery shop, budgeting, doctor's appointments, medication supervision, and community outings. Community health workers in PSR help with concerns related to co-occurring disorders like addiction to drugs, alcohol, and VLTs, as well as other more complex concerns involving the justice system, party and public guardian and trustees, physical health concerns, communication with families and other support persons, and many other daily household concerns. There are ongoing groups being offered at the downtown office, many being delivered by our adult mental health program, including coping, self-esteem, assertiveness, resiliency, and depression groups. In this episode, we are very grateful to share experiences of clients who have used these public services and can tell us their journey through crisis to recovery. Later, through these 2 episodes, we will hear the stories of Lee, Elle, and Clay, but first we will be talking with Tara, who is an activity instructor, and Cheryl, employment development counselor of psychosocial rehab, who can describe the community support services provided by Prairie Mountain Health. Let's start with a brief introduction, your name and position with Prairie Mountain Health, and if you like, tell us about your education or training and what led you to working with Prairie Mountain Health.
Okay, my name is Tara. I'm an activity instructor for psychosocial rehab, and my department is the community and residential support services. I've been working in mental health field for 25 years. I started up at PMH and have worked in various areas over the years, and I came to this job a few years ago.
Oh, what led you to working with Prairie Mountain Health?
Well, I just have always stayed in mental health services, and I decided to come back to PSR because I really believe in what they stand for.
So let's get a general overview of Prairie Mountain Health's community support services and the different departments and how they relate together.
Well, community support services, although we're in the umbrella with psychosocial rehab, we also service folks from the adult community mental health. So most of anybody who partakes in any of our programming are referred by a mental health worker. Sometimes if they have been in the system somewhere and hear about our services, then they will contact us and they'll do a self-referral.
And let's just have a brief introduction, your name and position with Prairie Mountain Health, maybe your education and training, and what led you to working with Prairie Mountain Health.
Thanks, Jan. My name's Cheryl, and I'm a community mental health worker. My subtitle is Employment Development Counselor, and I work in the Psychosocial Rehabilitation Program, or PSR. PSR is a department within Adult Mental Health Services down here in the town center in Brandon. I have a background in psychiatric nursing and graduated from Brandon Mental Health Center, as Lee referred to earlier, diploma in psychiatric nursing, and that was back in 1990. So I've worked with all different age groups during my career. I would say that the most rewarding is my work in PSR. I worked at a place called McTavish Manor, which led me to my work here as a mental health worker. So people come to mental health services in a variety of ways. Sometimes they're referred by their doctors, by nurse practitioners. They can self-refer by walking in our doors at B13 in the town center and speaking to the receptionist, who will connect them with an intake worker. People are sometimes transferred within our Prairie Mountain Health umbrella from either up north or in the southern regions. They might be moving here and might be needing to be connected with a mental health worker here in our program. The intake workers, whom somebody would see when seeking mental health services, are trained counselors. They come from a variety of backgrounds: social work, occupational therapy, psych nursing, and they would do an intake assessment to find out what the client's particular needs are and what types of services that they would require, and then they would refer them on from there. There are a number of different services within our mental health programs. In the town center alone, we have 3 different programs. We have seniors mental health, psychosocial rehab, and adult mental health services. And The age range is 18 and over. Prior to that, for 18 and under, there's CATC, the Child and Adolescent Treatment Center, and early intervention services is part of that as well. And they look after individuals within the range of 18 to 30, early intervention services for people with psychiatric disorders, mental health concerns. So those three services that we offer here in the town center under mental health services are considered to be more of a long-term counseling service, support service for people, as opposed to crisis intervention, which would be offered at the crisis services or mobile crisis. So Westman Crisis Services is another support service for people that are in acute crisis, and that is composed of mobile crisis services, and you can reach mobile crisis if you need to by calling 204-725-4411 or toll free at 1-888-379-7699. Those are for, and as well, there is a crisis stabilization unit, which is a home where within a very homey environment, there are a number of beds available for people that are in acute crisis and need to stay for a short period of time. So those are services that would help people that over the short term. They might also have community mental health workers working along with them that they would reconnect with after their stay is completed or during their stay at the crisis unit. Another acute service is CAP, or Center for Adult Psychiatry. So some of our clients that may be doing really well in the community suddenly have a bump in the road and require a short-term stay at CAP, or they may require a longer-term stay to get mental health stabilized.
And this might seem very obvious. I mean, people are coming to the mental health services because of mental health issues. But what common concerns and mental health issues does Prairie Mountain Health most often see in the community? Is there specific conditions that you feel? And the reason I ask this is because this show is called Reduce the Stigma. I see commonality as one way of reducing stigma, ubiquitousness, that these things are very common. So if you could tell us what commonly affects the population of Brandon that you're treating.
So within the PSR department, within mental health, we see a lot of individuals that are coming to us with severe and persistent mental illnesses or mental health issues, concerns, such as schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, lots of issues. Other issues might include, on top of that, housing, struggling with finding a job or keeping a job, and difficulties in the areas of living, learning, working, and socializing.
Lee is a client of the Community Support Services and wanted to share her direct lived experience with depression and her road to help and recovery from this very dark, debilitating condition. Okay, let's start with a brief introduction. Tell us about your daily life, Lee. What age are you? Can you tell us about your family, if you would like? And what diagnosed condition are you living with?
I am 64. I have a brother who lives in Winnipeg with a family, and they are very supportive of my illness. I was diagnosed with depression. I was looking after my father and landed up with depression, and it got to the point where I couldn't look after him anymore, and I asked for help right away because I knew I couldn't handle him. He was too ill to be with me anymore. Well, I might as well say he had Alzheimer's, so that made it even worse. He's been gone for quite a few years, but still very, very hard sometimes for me to, because I've suppressed it. Yeah. Well, I was working, and it was in the mental health field. Like, I was working in the library, doing as a library clerk part-time, sending out the journals so that people could learn about new therapies and that for people. Well, I'm not sure if they were difficulties, but I withdrew from church for about a year. I couldn't even handle church because I felt there was a stigma there. but it isn't there anymore. I'm able to talk about it now without crying. Well, we'll get it. Well, this discrimination stigma. It didn't happen with my job. I didn't. My co-workers were very accepting, but my church at one time weren't very accepting because there was older people there, and they believed that once you were in the mental hospital, you didn't come out. But it's not like that anymore, and they don't understand.
When you were first understanding that you were having depression, were you afraid of what people might think was, or did you realize that you needed help and needed to address that?
Well, I needed help. I had asked for the EAP program at work, so they knew there was problems. So the help was there, but it got to the point where I couldn't even, went away for a week, came back, and I was right in it again.
Can I ask you some of the symptoms that you were suffering, the intensity? Well, so you were self-isolating, weren't you? You were taking yourself away from people. What other things might have you been doing?
Well, when I was sort of diagnosed at first, I was crying. I just went through the motions of working, and it was very, very hard. I don't know how I did it. If my mother had been alive when this happened, we would have had to put him into a nursing home a lot sooner, because she had health problems herself. And all this happened after she passed away. So there was only my dad and myself and my brother left as of '88 in January. Right. And he would mask everything. My brother would only be in 6 times a year, and I was with him 24 hours a day.
You must have been exhausted. Exhaustion, was that a big symptom?
Very, 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 very tired. When I would sleep, I would have one ear thinking he would be going outside, which he did do. It was in October, but it was nicer weather then, but still. Well, he hit me. He was going to hit me. Well, I was afraid, to be honest.
What led you to seek help and treatment for depression?
My doctor knew, well, I had told my doctor that things weren't working out. And he put me on a medication, but it didn't work. My blood pressure went sky high. And I had to go into hospital to find one that did work. I went to PMHC, and it was where I was working too, which didn't help. But I had supportive, Human Resource Department was very supportive. My co-workers were very supportive. And that's what helped, because I was able to go back to work about 6 months after, but on a reduced schedule. But I did go back to work, but on a reduced schedule of 3 half-days a week, whereas I was working 5 half-days before.
What kind of help did you find to help you with depression? Were there programs or treatments that were suggested for you?
Well, I went to programs like, they'd have a group program every day, like we discuss things like we're doing here today, like discussing things that to get better, to do things that I could cope with the illness. It was very, very hard, but it helped me to, we discussed current events and that kind of thing, but not about mental illness, but getting back into the regular, what would you call it? Routine, sense of routine.
So you found some treatment, you found some resources at BMHC. Was this helpful? How did life change for you?
Well, it allowed me to come out of hospital, but I was in and out for 4 months because I was dealing with so much. And the medications, we got the medications that worked, but it took quite a while for them to start to work for me because the medication was right, but to get the one that would work properly to allow me to function, it was terrible. Oh, I got to the point where I could accept. After a year, I was able to go back to church. Ever since the church has helped.
What would you like people to know about people who have direct lived experience with depression? Do you think there's some certain things that people should be aware of?
That it is an invisible illness, like a physical illness, you can see it. Depression and any other disorders are invisible. Unless you tell them you've got it, they don't know. I'm getting more and more now that I can talk about it after 22 years. It's been, in the last, 3 years, I've been able to talk more about it.
How has Prairie Mountain Health helped you?
Well, one thing is I have a very good supportive worker. and she helps me with a lot of things. Like, I've known her for quite a long time. When my father passed away, she was there. She was there when I had my physical illness, and my doctors too. Even though they're not with, well, I'm not sure if they're with Perry Mountain Health or not, but still they're there. But my worker has been there for me quite a long time. I don't know what I'd do without her.
What groups, gathering, or events do you know of or participate that focuses on issues of mental health and that helps you?
Well, for instance, I've started going to a fishing club just about 4 years ago, and it is so relaxing. I can forget everything. I don't even think that I have an illness when I'm out with the fishing. And well, it's freedom. And I go to a cooking class, and we make, we'll say, soups. Our one signature soup is corn chowder, and we make other things too. Like like if after a Christmas dinner, for instance, we always have leftovers. And so we use the leftovers into a casserole or something like that. And I, talking about, well, cooking, or I have been on the Christmas dinner committee for how many years now? About 6 or 7 or more. Go to the bowling club. That gets me out. Exercise. And I need that, I'll tell you. Well, you're getting up and down, up and down, and up and down, so it helps. But there's so many things that bowling club is sort of, you can forget everything too. Just like fishing, you can forget everything and have a good time, which I do. And we talk about other things, like started to make a chicken and black bean casserole stew. And it is really, really good. One thing about it, it's not a group, like cooking classes has helped me to cook on my own now, which I couldn't do for quite a long time. So, in a way, cooking class has been a transition for me. I find it one-on-one is better than sometimes with a group, but cooking is a little different. It's the socialization. We do current events.
Can I ask, did I miss anything that you would like to talk about?
But the fishing club has been really the best thing for me because allows me to learn to fish again. Like I fished with my father years and years ago, and to come back and learn to fish again is 4 years ago was the best thing that could happen. It gave me an outlet, and it's sort of a memory that I've had.
Al is another long-term client with Community Support Services and dedicates his time helping others as a proctor. Al wanted to share his story living with schizoaffective disorder and what programs and services have helped him maintain a happy and productive life. Okay, let's start with a brief introduction. Al, could you tell us about your daily life? How old are you right now? Can you tell us about your family, if you would like? What diagnosed condition are you living with or have lived with?
I guess I'm a pioneer in the mental health because I'm 60 years old, be 61 in September. I have schizophrenic disorder, same as Clay. 60 years old, 3 sisters, and I live with my dad. My daily life is I get up in the morning, early, 6:30, get ready for work, go to work, come home around 4 o'clock, and make supper, and watch a little bit of TV, listen to music, and go to bed. Do the same thing over and over again, which I just love to do. I'm a proctor, and actually a client and a proctor, and I'm very proud of what I do.
What was life like before you were diagnosed? Schizoaffective disorder. What were some daily challenges or difficulties that you experienced?
Some of my difficulties and challenges were before I got help was trying to get the voices out of my head. I didn't know how to cope with them. I didn't know what was going on. I just thought it was just normal everyday life. I didn't know how to get the voices out of my head and get help because I didn't have any help because I was by myself and my family was distance away. I didn't know what resources were out there, and I had needed help, but I didn't think I needed help.
So were you talking to other people at that time about your problems that you were experiencing?
No, finally, my wife at the time, she phoned my dad in Brandon here and said something was wrong with me. She noticed something very wrong with me, and so she got my dad to come up and pick us up, so we drove to Brandon. I went to a doctor. I didn't want help there, and I ran away from the doctor. And then I went back again a couple days later, and they sent me to BMHC.
What kind of help did you find there? What programs and treatments, if any, were suggested?
Okay, I found a lot of help there. First of all, nothing would work for me, no medication, and starting to spasm and stuff, and they couldn't find no medication. So finally, a day before they're going to give me, it was shock treatment. I pulled out of it, and they found the medication that worked, and I started on Modicate, and I've been doing that. I was doing that intramuscularly for about 20 years, and then finally it started getting the shake, so I went into risperidone, and that's done wonders for me. And when I was at BMHC, I had a lot of programs I worked at, and one of them was working at Ventures, and I was in the wood shop, and I made for the equestrian jumps in Calgary, I made some horse jumps for them to descend to Calgary. I think it was for the Olympics at the time, I think. I just went out and did my job, and sometimes not so well, but everybody gave me a chance, and some of my bosses weren't always very accommodating, but I kind of pulled through, and after a while I worked all my life and just coped with it, and that's about all.
How might we better include people living with schizoaffective disorder into general society? In what ways can society be more accepting?
Okay, give a person a voice, chance to be themselves without the labels. Be involved, be educated on illnesses. Don't see the outside of a person. You need to see the inside.
How has Prairie Mountain Health helped you in your life?
Well, I don't think of them as, being people that are bosses. I think of them as friends. I think of them as trying to help people that need help, and we all work as a team to help. And when being a proctor, I've realized that working as a team really helps to get everyone motivated and on the same track. And we set out a plan for them, and we follow the plan, and everything works out quite well.
What groups, gatherings, or events do you know of or participate in that focuses on issues of mental health and help?
Okay, I do the same pretty well as Clay. The only difference is we go bowling, and it's a bowling club called Opportunity Strikes. And there's an Expressions. We changed our name to Expressions Journey to Wellness, and that's every May. And we have an art show down in the town center. And we got events like we do barbecues and to raise money to make more money to put on more events and stuff, and raise money for our fishing clubs, and getting actor through empowerment. And yeah, and we do different, Christmas. We do a Christmas dinner every year at the church. Everybody gets together, and we have a slideshow of all the people that we have taken pictures of, and it's very interesting and funny, and we have a good time all the time. Well, they help me because you get to see people that you've made relationships with, and you get to talk to them and see what they've done during the year. If you don't see them quite often or something, you can see different people all the time, and it's good to hear their stories and relate back to them, and you tell them your stories, and it brings everybody closer together. I'd just like to say one thing. It's kind of like a thing that I was thinking of that relates to my life. Okay, I bought a guitar, played it for couple of years, went downstairs, found it was broken, brought it to a shop, got it repaired, started playing it again, found it was broken again, repaired it myself, then it's been fixed ever since, but I'll never play that guitar again until I get a new one.
number for mental health reception is 204-578-2400. I want to thank Cheryl and Tara, as well as Lee and Elle, for their contributions to this episode, and urge you to return to hear the second part of this focus on Prairie Mountain Health Community Support Services. My name is John Eck, and you have been listening to Reduce the Stigma.
You are listening to Reduce the Stigma, CJ106 docu-series funded by Community Radio Fund of Canada, narrated by Jan Eck, produced by Jan Eck, Matthew Higgs, Tyler Addison, and Janice Sproul.